Hey, this is Tracy Lewis from Stuff and Things, working on my Winter is Coming Wednesday, episode 8. And Hub is in the room here, so you're probably going to hear him clickety-clicking on the computer. And I've been fussing around and changed my mind. I can't tell you how many times. And so I'm just going to go with it. What I've been playing with are some sets that I haven't used yet. I knew that that was a goal for sure. And I'm looking for something here. Here it is. I want to do a quick stamping. I have played with a set for a non-Christmas card, and I was looking at it and thought it would make a very nice Christmas card background, and I will show it to you here in a minute. It is called Parcels and Petals, and I thought that these flowers looked very loosely like poinsettias. So I have so far created 2 of them and thought I would stamp one up with you guys watching and then move on to some different focals. I have created 3 different more elaborate focals, and I do have one very simple one, and I'm just going to mix and match like I always do to give you guys some different ideas. I was also playing with my sentiments. I haven't done a lot with Christmas sentiments yet. So in addition to the Parcels and Petals, I have played with poinsettia petals for these 2 leaves that are actually supposed to be accent leaves for these holly leaves. They're supposed to be the shadow, but I just used them because you'll see that the Parcels and Petals is just a very loose silhouette-y, or not silhouette-y, the dark solid type of a flower. And so I did one where I used its leaf, and I didn't really like its leaf. It didn't look leafy enough, so I went ahead and picked these, and they just look better to my eye. So the Happy Holidays, the Merry Christmas, and then from For Unto Us, I used this Merry Christmas. Die cuts, I did a lot of die cuts. I enjoy fancy die cuts, and I'm very sad that most of my fancy die cuts are all gone, and I have been slowly rebuilding my fancy die stash, and I very much appreciate that Stampin' Up! Has been releasing a lot of nice, very fancy dies, which I really enjoy. So from Parcels and Petals, they have this one die that you make a background, and then you overlay this very elaborate cutout over the top of it. So you'll see that. I have used, this comes with Parcels and Petals, and so I did one cutout with that shape. And then from Ornate Layers dies, I have not, no, Ornate Labels. I've never used this set. So this goes together. This is the inside piece that sits on top of the frame. That's very ornate. So we'll play with that. I already have this one done. I have a couple of these kind of in the works. I did also a simple sentiment using this label punch that's in the annual catalog, and I used this half. So let's get to stamping, and then I can show you the mixing and matching, which of course I love to do. I think it's one of my favorite things about stamping, is making up a bunch of pieces and then seeing how they all fit together to make nice cards. I am looking for one more thing. Of course, I was all organized, and now trying to find everything I need is proving difficult. Alright, I found it. Because, actually I don't even need it, because with my sentiments I had photopolymer. You don't need to use a softer surface to stamp on if you're using the rubber with the foam. So my colors: red, real red, and shaded spruce. Now, every time I do this, it's different. I try not to overthink it. And that's kind of the exercise, is how you can take something you haven't really thought through and you're just doing a very artistic rendering. I'm doing one stamp off. Just trying to think about. Trying to somewhat think, since I have done this 2 times. This will be my 3rd one. I'm not going close to the edge. Some of the full background stamped images you do like off the edge. In this case, I'm actually not. I could, and I bet you this stamp set would do a nice job of it, but for this particular exercise, I'm not necessarily going off the edge. So we're going to play with this. So this one has more activity at that one corner, and so each side is a little different, and I'm going to see if that works well with the sentiments that I came up with. So now I'm going to do the leaf, which I need to grab. I'm going to just use the smaller shady leaf this time. I might even stamp off, because this green is really dark and it's much more inky than my. Then I bet, yeah, so I think those are the 2. See how, if you're seeing over here how dark this is, I'm avoiding that dark color. Let's see if we can. Alright, let's just play with that. It probably looks like nothing right now, but we are going to work some magic and make it into something beautiful. So that is literally how long it took me, and you even saw me try to gather some materials because I wasn't fully prepared, and it only took, what, 5 minutes. So this is a very quick way to start with a base for any theme of card. I now have to do an embossing treatment to it. And I might have to go away because that I did not find before starting to film. So I will be right back with my dry embossing folder. Alright, I have found it. I did put it all the way away, so I'm glad I paused and didn't waste anyone's time while digging around for it. Alright, so I chose to use another item that I haven't used but maybe once, and that is, it's an ocean theme embossing folder that just looked like it had kind of some swirliness to it. You know, we had some nice swirly-ish embossing folders last year, and this year that retired. It was called Swirls and Curls. And so I think I was just thinking outside the box, and I didn't want to use subtle, and I didn't want to use the texture I didn't want to use old rolled paper, so it is called Seabed. So that is what I chose. In looking at all of my options, I just didn't want geometric looking shapes. I wanted soft swirly shapes. So, sorry, I set the catalog down. And if you look really carefully, it actually does have, in the middle is where most of the kind of sea kelp and coral look is. There is somewhere on here a couple of small starfish, but you can't really see them. So that is what I chose. And I've already prepared the other backgrounds. I just wanted to show you how quick this one background was to make. The card that I made, oh no, this will be interesting. So this one I actually was in a hurry, so I did it backwards, which should make it a little bit different than the other two, but still should work. All right, so I want to trim this down. I already have some mats that I can mix and match with, so I want to get this to the same size as the other two. I am looking at my leaves. I want to make sure they're somewhat cut off. I don't want to have anything. If one side, to me, this is just my own opinion, if one side has an element that's cut off and the other one doesn't, I just think it makes it look a little bit lopsided. So I want to make sure that I don't have it too offset. Okay, so that's what I'm going to use right there. So with this, looking kind of like not much of anything, I will show you now the other two that I made. All right, so this one I went ahead and did use the dark green. I found it really dominant. And over here, I used the smaller leaf, and it just doesn't look quite as Christmassy for whatever reason. I also got more flowers in the center on this one. I did them kind of vertical along this one and tried to just spread them out here, but not all over. So it gives us a little challenge. I like the little red dots a lot on this particular stamp set. It's probably what made me want to buy it. That and the elaborate die that came with the bundle, when you buy it in the bundle. Alright, so I have some mats. I want to play with this new one because I've actually done some playing with the other ones. So right away, when you add the matting, and you start to see the Christmas come out in it, in my opinion. And I went ahead and I didn't use all of these, but I did pull out the two foils that are new. That they come in together, and then there's this red velvet. Silver was the color I already had out for working with the other card, so I used silver as my accent color. And I pulled out some trims and cut some pieces for possibilities. I grabbed some vellum and tore it. And then I cut, after stamping, I did a green. It looks like I ended up with 3 green and 1 red. I didn't really think about, green or red. I just kind of was randomly making stuff. And here are my pieces. The first one I made was quite elaborate, and I thought, oh, I better back off and not do, I have the tendency to go all out on everything, and I wanted to make a variety of levels of things for people to see. So there's my fancy one, and then my sort of fancy one, and my clean and simple. Then I have the one that I told you that was made with the punch. So the funnest part now for me, I will have to make a fourth one though. This one being the clean and simple, I probably would not use on cards for myself actually. But I wanted to show you what it looks like if you just wanted to keep it very simple. All you would have to do is add a popped up sentiment and some embellishments or a bow somewhere, and you could put some rhinestones on these very artsy flowers. You could do 1, 2, 3 and call this one done, just like that. So that is the kind of the message that I want to say, is that you can take a very loosely done background, just put Christmas colors to it, and throw on a Merry Christmas, and you can pretty much make it work. So let's do the same with all 3 of these. So this is the new one that I did. I think it's interesting that and it looks like this needs to be trimmed up even more than what I trimmed it up to. So let's do that. I want thin. Normally I work the other way around. Okay, so we're just going to use this for the moment. So here's the new one. It's a little more spread out flowers. And they're off to one side more than the other. And I'm just eyeballing it. And again, I think that you could still do rhinestones. You could, if you wanted a rhinestone down here, you could move this up and have 1, 2, 3 rhinestones. I don't have a little bow done here anywhere, do I? Nope, I don't have any bows done. I used the one. I have this one right here. Okay, so now, just to make things a little fancier, I do have an extra silver die cut. So you could dress this particular sentiment up without a lot of work by just putting this silver die cut behind it. You could then add some of this lovely silver edged trim. To dress up your card a little bit more. And I wanted to say, let's look at this third one. Now this was the first one that I did. I haven't even seen if it fits with the red. It does. Okay. So this one is a little different than the others. I had a hard time deciding. It kind of almost looks like it could be a vertical, which then in this case, this Merry Christmas is a little too wide. That's where I was thinking, oh, I should probably make a variety of sentiments for people to look at. Because I am liking, for this particular design, this square. It would be really easy to take the square and make a little very simple ribbon treatment and then rhinestones. I really like that. And so that's where I was going with this one. And then I want to throw on this one a fancy version using this silver netting. And just put the Happy Holidays right in the middle, and that really dresses this up. And then I left the white on the sides. And this was not intended. I just stamped it up very quickly, and this is what I ended up with. I even, with this one, thought, oh, I could make it kind of like it's a sparkly silver card, the whole colored part, then with leaving the edge white. And pop on my fancy sentiment, and it's a beautiful card. Maybe add some rhinestones, some sort of embellishments here and there. I think for this week I am not going to have time to finish these all, and I've got all the pieces made, and next week I will do a showcase of them and finish them off, and then maybe start something new. That seems to be a theme for me. So here's this one, still with the whole silvery. I was just looking at this horizontally, and what you could do with a long sentiment. So this netting is really neat because you could just use it over the top of, like, this is almost all of the card is covered, and I think it has a really neat look to it with kind of the artsy background. You could consider, I haven't trimmed this down, to mute some of it. Let's say you have a really vivid image and it's fighting with your sentiment. Don't forget that you can use vellum to soften the area behind the sentiment so that the sentiment has enough pop. And I want to play with, this is the new one that I did. And I haven't really even looked at this with any of my fancier so here's what it would be if it was more of a clean and simple card. And you have to play with which way would I prefer. This leaf is what I keep looking at, so maybe it just needs to be covered, and then I look to see at what points would rhinestones look nice to balance it, and I see 3 opportunities for rhinestones, or even this one. If this is too close to this one to make it too matchy, that kind of breaking it up in a triangle I think is a good way to go. And then we have, I just want to see what this looks like. See, I kind of really like that with the grouping of flowers around it. Yep. So you can see where I'm going with all of these different options and different pieces. I still have this plain white ribbon. It comes as a combo, and I had a piece of it out just to see if it would make a nice softening element like the vellum does, to just, if you need to make sure that your sentiment is coming out in front of the background so it's not fighting with the background and it's dominant enough. The other thing that I have that I haven't done anything with is this red. So this right here is the red velvet, and it's a deep vivid red, and so I made it the reverse, and I made the background the red velvet with a piece of silver, and I haven't done anything with this. And so it it really is quite vivid red, and I think for this background, in fact, I started with this and went, oh, this is going to be fighting with the background too much, I think. And so it's almost like it's too much for the background because of its, you know, its fanciness. And this background really lends itself, it could be fancy, so here's something that you could consider doing, and it may work. Like maybe this one with the way the art ended up being laid out, and I did use the dark leaves, so perhaps with the darkness of this one, let's just see, I can fancy up this Merry Christmas to my expectations of what I would want to do, and maybe I will be able to use it somehow, some way on this one. So I will go away now, and we'll have the week to finish these off and get them into a showcase. I've got all the pieces together, so hopefully we move this week, and then while we are in our temporary location, we're just going to be for a week and get ready to head out to the ocean for the winter. So we'll be gone from our home area, 4 to 6 months. Just kind of depends on how much fun it is out there and whether we come back earlier or not. So we're going to hang out at my mom's for a week and do some last minute projects that we need to do. And so we'll see how much I get to for the next episode. And I hope all of this ruminating about how I would be creating cards using these sets has helped get your juices flowing. And thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next week. All of the products you've seen demonstrated today from Stampin' Up! Are available on my store at stuffandthings.com/shop, which redirects you to Stampin' Up! I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I can sell to folks in the US only. Before you go, please like this video, leave your comments, questions, and suggestions, and remember to subscribe to my channel for more card making tutorials.